South African settlements for the future. My name is Alize Roux. I am the technical lead on the Green Book and your host for the session. A very warm welcome to our online audience and our esteemed panel of experts. I would like to introduce you to our panelists, but before that, I just want to tell you this webinar will feature the Green Book as a planning support system, and it will include a discussion with our panelists in the public and the private sector on the value of the Green Book, as well as the lessons we have learned from piloting this system in 2 district municipalities across South Africa. Our first panelist is Wilhelmine van Niekerk. She is the project lead on the Green Book and a principal researcher in the Urban and Regional Dynamics Group in CSIR Smart Places. Wilhelmine is a professional urban planner with over 20 years' experience as a consultant, lecturer, and researcher, working in multi- and interdisciplinary environments. Wilhelmine will also be taking us through the content of the Green Book as a conversation starter today. Anaï Brevet, she is in the service of the South African National Government in the Department of Cooperative Governance and is the current Chief Director for Disaster Management Legislation and Policy Management at the National Disaster Management Centre. Lindelani Madau is the current Director of Climate Change Adaptation, Socioeconomic Sectors at the South African Department of Environment, Forestries and Fisheries. His current roles entails the overseeing of the local and provincial support program, the city's resilience program, the National Climate Change Adaptation Research Agenda, and the mainstreaming of climate change adaptation to various critical sectors throughout South Africa. We are also joined by an online panelist all the way from Cape Town, John Lomberg. He has been in the financial service industry for the past 22 years and has occupied various senior and executive roles in companies like Old Mutual, Santam, and Metropolitan. John is currently serving on various boards and forums in the short-term insurance industry, and he's the head of stakeholder relations and CSI at Santam. And his role is to position Santam as a relevant and responsible corporate citizen with all key and relevant stakeholders in South Africa. So thank you indeed for joining us today. I'm now handing over to Wilhelmine van Niekerk that will take us through the Green Book content and what's been happening in the past year.
Thank you very much, Alize, and good afternoon to everybody and also to our audience and our panelists. I'm going to use this opportunity to briefly introduce you to the Green Book. The Green Book is an online planning tool that was launched last year and developed specifically to support all the local municipalities in South Africa with the adaptation of settlements to the impact of current and likely future climate change and severe events. The support it offers includes scientific evidence in the form of current vulnerability analysis, population growth projections up to 2050 future, current and future climate risk modeling, as well as a selection of adaptation actions in the urban planning domain that can be mainstreamed into local municipal strategic and sector plans. The ultimate aim of this planning support tool is to reduce the exposure of people, specifically in vulnerable places, people's livelihoods, ecological infrastructure and services, engineering infrastructure and services, and public facilities, among others. It also helps to adapt settlements to be able to absorb the impact of climate change and severe events in the future. The next 12-minute video that we are going to show you showcases the in-depth information of the Green Book and also the evidence and support that is available to all of the local municipalities in South Africa through the Green Book. Thank you.
Welcome to the Green Book, Adapting South African Settlements to Climate Change. The Green Book is an online tool to support long-term municipal planning with the development of climate-resilient settlements. It looks forward to the year 2050 by projecting settlement growth combined with scientific evidence of the likely impacts that climate change will have on South African towns and cities. Every settlement risk profile is linked to customizable adaptation actions to be considered for integration into local plans and strategies. The ultimate goal of the Green Book is to contribute to resilient, sustainable, and livable settlements through climate change adaptation. Now, let's delve into the detail of the Green Book. The Green Book is structured into 3 main components. The first component is a series of 11 interactive story maps. These story maps provide the user with an overview of the research methods and evidence from the Green Book. They also explain the anticipated impacts of the changing climate and growing urban population on key resources and settlements in South Africa on a national scale. All the story maps have sections on background information, methodology, findings on the current situation, findings on future impacts, the impact on settlements, as well as recommendations for adaptation. For example, the climate change story map takes you through a narrative about climate change in South Africa, explaining changes to the future climate of the country up to 2050 as projected by the Green Book. There are static as well as interactive maps. Interactive maps have buttons in the bottom right-hand corner that allow you to explore the map's functionality fully. By clicking on the Explore icon, you can zoom in on any place to see more detail. Some maps allow you to explore the data even further and show additional, space-specific information by clicking on a map feature. When 3 comparative interactive maps are placed side by side, their visuals can be synchronized for comparison. To select the map that will synchronize the views, click the circular arrow icon at the top of the map. Zooming in and out of the selected map will automatically apply the same zoom and pan action to the other 2 maps. Once you are done exploring a story map, you can navigate to the home page by clicking on the Green Book icon in the top left. From here, you can navigate to any of the other story maps or tools. Once in the Risk Profile tool, you can select any municipality you are interested in by clicking on the map if you know its location, or through the name search function. We will use Umhlatuzi local municipality in KwaZulu-Natal province as an example. On the left of the screen, you can navigate to specific sections of the Risk Profile tool, or you can simply scroll down through each of the sections. The municipality's vulnerability indicators are shown first. You can view the selected municipality's performance in comparison to other local municipalities in the country, or in contrast to the other municipalities in the province. There are 4 vulnerability indicators. Hover over any one for a brief description of how it was derived and what it entails. You can then click on any indicator to see the municipality's 2011 vulnerability score or its 1996 score, with an arrow indicating whether the municipality's vulnerability has improved or worsened during those 15 years. If you scroll down, you can also download the entire country's vulnerability indicator data on municipal level here. Another functionality of the risk tool is you can toggle between the current and a 2050 future at any time. By selecting a 2050 future here, you will be able to see the population growth projections for Umhlatuzi local municipality for both a medium growth and a high growth scenario. For example, the Green Book projects that Umhlatuzi local municipality's population may double in size by 2050. Remaining in the 2050 view, but scrolling down to the next section, you can see population growth projections for all the towns and cities within that local municipality, such as Sekalasinkosi, Impangeni, and Richards Bay. For example, the table indicates that most of the settlements within this municipality will experience extreme growth pressure in the next 3 decades. Going back to the current view, you can compare 6 vulnerability indicators for these same settlements, representing each settlement's present vulnerabilities. You can toggle the settlements on and off, explore individual scores for each settlement, or view the map to spatially locate the settlements within the municipality. The next section shows the current climate features of the municipality. You can click anywhere on these maps to see the temperature or rainfall values for any location. You can also click through to the series of story maps that further explain the information contained in each section. The 2050 view provides projections about the anticipated shifts in the climate for the local municipality. These values show change above or below the current baseline climate. For example, when choosing very hot days, the interactive map will display the projected change in very hot days and the range of uncertainty from 12 climate modelling outputs. The next section in the risk profile tool provides information on the current and future risk of hydrometeorological hazards per municipality. Clicking on any of the solid icons for fire, flooding, drought, coastal flooding or heat stress will show a map with the current hazard risk index. Switching to the 2050 view will display the likely climate-induced shifts of the selected hazard as well as its projected impact on the settlements within the municipality. You can close the maps in the top right corner and select a different hazard to view. The impact of climate change on various resources by 2050 is covered in the next section. Under the current view, an overview of the municipality's resources with regards to water supply, agriculture, forestry and fisheries, macroeconomics, surface water, or groundwater is available. By clicking on any of the icons, more information will be displayed. For example, clicking on agriculture, forestry and fisheries, the three main contributing commodities in this sector and their current contribution to the local municipal GVA and employment, as well as the municipality's contribution to the national GVA is shown. In the 2050 view, you will again see the main contributing commodities in this sector, but also the impact that climate change may have on each of these commodities. Closing the Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries tab, additional resource icons are displayed under the 2050 view. Clicking on any of these will provide you with a short, qualitative description of the possible impacts climate change may have on each of those sectors. In order to effectively and appropriately respond to the risks and hazards showcased in the Risk Profile tool, you can then click through to the Adaptation Actions tool. The Adaptation Actions tool provides a range of planning and design actions to be integrated into the local planning functions based on the risks and hazards that have been identified for a municipality. You can view all 81 adaptation actions in the tool, or filter for actions associated with specific hazards and climate impacts as per the risk profile. Furthermore, you can also filter according to the planning function or adaptation strategy. A short definition of the different adaptation strategies is provided by hovering over the information tooltip. As a search example, if you filter the list of actions for coastal flooding under hazards and climate impacts, and for environmental planning under planning function, a number of actions are proposed. By hovering over any of the adaptation actions, a short description is provided. By clicking on an action, for example, maintain and rehabilitate dunes, more detailed information is provided, which includes a description of the selected adaptation action, the goals, the benefits and co-benefits, the cost and implications, an example of where similar adaptation measures have been taken, and credits and links where they are available. On the right, you see the classification of the action as a planning function, adaptation strategy, and the climate hazards and impacts it addresses. Supporting actions, meaning associated adaptation actions that reinforce this adaptation measure, are also suggested. In this example, there are 4 supporting actions. If you click on any of these supporting actions, it will open in a separate tab where similar information will be provided. On the far left panel, you can link through to more information about the Adaptation Action tool and also find a guideline for selecting and prioritizing adaptation actions. The Greenbook website also has a section for general content. It provides more information on how the Greenbook was co-produced with stakeholders and the peer review process that was followed. Under the Policy Implications section, you can read about the Greenbook's contribution to the climate change adaptation policy environment in South Africa. You can also meet the team of close to 50 researchers from multiple domains and disciplines who contributed to the Greenbook. The Greenbook has also produced a number of written resource documents. You are able to access these research reports, presentations and papers under the Resources section, Useful citations are also provided to reference all the Green Book resources and tools. Lastly, you can click through to our funders and partners page to learn more about the organizations that funded the project, our collaborative partners, and project consultants. With the evidence and planning support provided by the Green Book, we trust that local municipalities will be able to plan for current needs as well as to prioritize interventions to adapt their settlements to future climatic changes through effective forward planning.
Thank you for that. I hope to our audience that if you've now seen the video of the Green Book, that also enticed you to explore the Green Book website yourself and see what information is available there per local municipality. As we said, our partners in the rollout and training of the Green Book are also present today. The National Disaster Management Centre was our partner in the development of the Green Book between 2016 and 2019, and we continue to partner with the National Disaster Management Centre. Then the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries are also a key collaborator, and they've been a peer reviewer of our work from the early days of the inception of the Green Book. And then Santam came on board with the launch of the Green Book in 2019. So since the launch of the Green Book in 2019, the Green Book team, as well as our partners, have worked very hard to raise the awareness of the existence of the Green Book among local municipalities, and also the information and the support available through the Green Book, and that what support it could offer to local municipalities. To this extent, we've offered many presentations to a wide variety of audience on many occasions across the country. But I think more importantly, we have for the last year partnered with Santam to offer pilot training on the mainstreaming of the Green Book and its information in local municipalities. And we've done this in 2 districts and 11 local municipalities. And this was also done in collaboration with the NDMC and with DEF. So more training sessions are planned for the near future, and we are looking forward to training more local municipalities on the use and the mainstreaming of the Green Book. Then also we've received very positive feedback from many sectors of our society who use the Green Book, and that include national, local and provincial government, NGOs, students busy with their masters and PhD studies, other researchers as well as consultants and others from the private sector. And then the Green Book training has equipped many people in local government to access and apply the scientific evidence available in the Green Book and to mainstream and to implement these adaptation actions towards climate resilient settlements in our country. So we will hear from our partners now on the value that the Green Book offers to local municipalities and also in achieving their respective mandates in local government. Thank you, Alize. Over to you.
Thank you, Wilhelmine. I'm now going to start with a panel discussion, and we're first going to go over to John from Cape Town. And John from Santam, I want to ask you if you could tell our audience about the insurance industry's role in disaster risk reduction and why Santam is collaborating with the CSIR on the Green Book.
Thank you, Alize, and hi, fellow panelists. I think from a Santam perspective, we are a risk carrier, and for that reason, risk is crucially important for us to manage risk on the ground. But there are various factors that impact the insurance industry's sustainability. And also from a regulatory point of view, there are certain challenges that we must meet and respond to. One of those challenges, for example, is the lack of financial inclusion, because we know a large majority of our South African society are not covered from a risk point of view. Also, we have a situation whereby we need to work hard as an industry together with government to narrow the risk protection gap. That is, with increasing risks, more and more people find themselves exposed. And for that reason, more efforts must be put in place to reduce risk and to include more people within the insurance net. Then also we understand from insurance point of view There's low insurance penetration. So when these catastrophes hit, many people are affected. It's for those and other reasons that the insurance industry take our role very seriously as to how can we lean in and work with government in the reduction of disaster risks. It's crucial for the insurance industry to work together with government, with civil society, to collaborate around efforts to reduce risk and risk exposure, of course. So joint decision making is important to reduce risk over time. And if you consider the cost benefit of disaster risk measures and investment, it really is, it makes sense for insurance industry to work with other partners to reduce risk. To the question why the insurance industry and Santam in particular partner with CSIR in the Green Book, the insurance industry is dependent on reliable scientific data to improve understanding of risk and do better risk rating. So the insurance industry needs science that uses multidisciplinary methods, processes, and algorithms to understand risk better, and thereby to rate risk better as well. So data which assists in determining probability of certain outcomes is crucial for the insurance industry to make predictions as to where will risk present and how to best risk rate that particular risk. So data models too, driven to understanding the dynamic urban, social, and economic conditions, it helps us to inform future investment and also to drive pragmatic programs. And then, of course, finally, data makes room for reflective learning. So we can, by tapping into data such as the Green Book, we can look at what transpired and we can interrogate that shock deeply. And then, of course, put measures in place to respond and reduce similar shocks in future. So the Green Book for us is a critical tool to help build models for future scenarios using predictive data. So as Santam, we are very excited and appreciate the work, data, and content that the Green Book carries to help address both societal risk as well as business risk.
Thank you, John. That was John from Santam. I'm now going to go over Lindelani to you, and I want to ask you about the mandate of Department of Environment, Forestries and Fisheries around climate change adaptation, and why DEF has felt it necessary to partner with a CSIR on the Green Book.
Thanks so much, as well as the fellow audience and panelists. Yes, indeed, the Green Book to us as a Department of Environment and Forestry, it is such a critical tool. And in terms of our mandate as a department, we have a huge mandate in the country of making sure that we lead the climate change governances through its policies, the national climate change policies, which provide the broader vision in terms of the climate change response. And also it assists in providing the different instruments that lead to the climate change resilience in terms of enhancing the resiliences as well as the building of the adaptive capacity. And some of our mandate as a department has been also been informed by the National Climate Change Bill. That is our current act under development, which actually provide the legal teeth in terms of the climate change governance and making sure that there is also a cooperative governance in terms of the coordination and integrating of the climate change policies around the country. And lastly, in terms of the policy mandate, we do have a National Climate Change Adaptation Strategy, which is a policy directive which assist in giving direction in the implementation as well as the monitoring mechanism of those two policies, the climate change response policy as well as the bill. And in terms of the value in partnership in the Green Book, I think as a department, I would say it's a privilege for us to be part of this initiative, because one of the role as a government department, as I've indicated, is to lead in terms of the cooperative governances, and ensures that the provinces as well as municipalities, they actually come out with the policies and strategies in terms of the implementation. And we do have programs such as the provincial support program, as well as municipality support programs. All those programs they serve as a platform for the Green Book implementation, because all in all, they assist in terms of the mainstreaming as well as the integrating of the climate change response into municipality planning processes. So for us, we foresee the partnershiping as a great advantage for us, so that we can also acquire the scientific data in terms of developing the provincial as well as municipality strategies in response of climate change, and also in assisting us in the projection or the future projection in the dissemination of the information in terms of the municipalities' physical, socio-economic vulnerabilities in those relative spaces, and also for them to build their climate response plans from that the scientific evidence or disseminated scientific information provided by the Green Book. So as a department, we are delighted to partner with CSIR in the rolling out of the Green Book and make sure that it achieves the realized goal as part of our policy implementation. So we see it as a vehicle towards the policy implementation for national climate change response policies and other policies. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was Linda Lani from Department of Environment, Forestries and Fisheries. Anay, I'm now going to ask you from a national disaster management perspective and from a disaster risk and reduction perspective. What is the mandate of the NDMC, as well as why you've partnered with the CSIR on the Green Book?
Thank you very much, Alize, and good afternoon to everyone and to the online audience. The existence of the National Disaster Management Centre is premised on achieving the objective of promoting and coordinating a system of disaster management with special emphasis on mitigation and prevention. And basically that relates to disaster risk reduction. The National Disaster Management Centre is the custodian of disaster management and disaster risk reduction in South Africa, and has a very important role to play in influencing and formulating policy on issues relating to risk reduction. So when we look at the role of the NDMC in terms of the rollout of the district development model that has been announced by the President, it is to work with stakeholders across the spheres of government and other role players to promote the implementation of disaster management programs in each of the 44 districts and 8 metro spaces in the country. And that will seek to reduce disaster risk, prevent the development of new risk, enhance preparedness and mitigation, foster quick response and recovery, and foster reconstruction aimed at building back better. So according to the disaster management legislation in South Africa, municipalities have to develop a disaster management plan. They have to conduct risk assessments and implement risk reduction measures. The Green Book can support compliance to this legislation by providing information, as we have heard, scientific-based information that can be used to expand municipal disaster management plans to include risk assessments and risk mapping for functional areas and for areas vulnerable, populations and areas at risk of disasters, and to develop adaptation options to reduce these risks. All these actions should then contribute to the development of the one plan of each of the districts and the metros in our country. The National Disaster Management Centre, together with sector departments across the spheres of government, advocate that resilience, disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation must be part of local government planning. It must be part of urban design, of rural development, and other strategies and guidelines to achieve sustainable development and reduce disaster risks, including those associated with climate change. So the Green Book will greatly contribute to the understanding of risk in our South African settlements. It is fundamental in adapting existing and future South African settlements at risk to climate changes. It basically emboldens integration of risk reduction into land use and planning processes, which is a function of local government, into water resource and environmental management, into infrastructural management, maintenance and planning, into building design and construction. So it is very important to increase awareness of risk so that local governments can respond appropriately to decrease the vulnerability of the local communities. So I believe the Green Book is a valuable tool to support the implementation of the Disaster Management Act and also in the development of the One Plan for each of the districts and metros to ensure that climate and disasters are considered and that adequate adaptation options are provided to address them. So from a national perspective, the integral role of disaster risk management in development policy is also vital. We believe that the Green Book will contribute to mainstreaming disaster risk reduction and adaptation into development. The National Disaster Management Centre has therefore been honoured to be a partner to support the Green Book project, and we will continue to do so. So we would like to continue to be involved in the development of appropriate adaptation options for South African settlements and to support local government to ensure that they meet the objectives of building a sustainable communities and sustainable and resilient communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anay. That was Anay Brevet from the NDMC. Anay, I'm going to stay with you and I'm going to ask you, what has been your experience in piloting the Green Book in district municipalities? Do you see the value for municipal officials, and what is needed in your opinion to cement this tool as a long-term adaptation planning support tool?
Thank you, Alize, once again. Yes, it was quite exciting to introduce the Green Book to 2 pilot districts, which was the Eslanzeni district municipality in Mpumalanga and also the Garden Route in the Western Cape. I think it started to demonstrate the value of the Green Book to support planning in a municipality. So the Green Book provided an opportunity for municipal officials to gain access to the latest scientific knowledge available on risk and vulnerability analysis. More importantly, the practical experience from officials in the coalface was very valuable to basically validate the research that was done and the findings of the Green Book. And I believe that provided some confidence and comfort for officials to use the Green Book more effectively and to use it with confidence. And to realize that it's not only a theoretical exercise or a scientific document, but it can be used in practice. One of the very important benefits of the training was to provide a platform for joint planning. I think officials from the different departments in the municipality participated, and that in itself raised awareness about the need to anticipate risk and to do joint planning to address those risks. I believe the officials from the pilot municipalities realized that the Green Book augments the use of existing planning tools and processes to support local government planning to contribute to the creation of resilient communities. This was quite useful as the Green Book provides guidance on adaptation options for municipalities. It proposes a suite of climate change adaptation actions for every settlement in South Africa based on their individual risk profiles, and that was very helpful in the pilot municipalities where they used the risk profile to identify these actions. Another important consideration is incorporating climate and disaster risk into the one plan of each of the districts and the metros. So I think the Green Book is very valuable to support the implementation of this process, to ensure that climate and disaster risk are considered and that adequate adaptation measures are part of the one plan. It ultimately facilitates the mainstreaming of climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction into the local government planning instruments and processes. So going forward and to cement the tool as a long-term adaptation tool, I think South Africa particularly needs to build the resilience of the poor and those in vulnerable situations and reduce their exposure and vulnerability to climate-related extreme events, and also other economic, social, and environmental shocks and disasters. We need to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and disasters. So there is a need for creating awareness amongst officials on the Green Book about its value and its application, and also how it can contribute to the one plan process in each of the 44 districts and 8 metros. So I really want to encourage officials to play around with the tool and really explore the website, and you will be surprised in the wealth of information that is available that you can use to assist you in planning and also in even presenting to your executive on issues of each settlement. We need to encourage stakeholders involved in risk reduction, climate change adaptation and planning to basically buy into the Green Book and the concept of the Green Book and promote the guidelines. We need to encourage the use of the Green Book as a key supporting tool to inform the one plan of each district, because it addresses a number of planning issues, from spatial planning and land use management principles in the face of climate change to the design of neighborhoods and also infrastructure and environmental planning. I think we should create opportunities for decision makers to make full use of new developments in science and evidence, such as contained in the Green Book, to influence decision making to address future risk of disasters. We want human settlement, disaster risk reduction, and climate change policy and regulations to be influenced by the Green Book guidelines. We ultimately want to ensure that the application of the Green Book improves the resilience and reduce vulnerability of at-risk populations living in South African cities and towns. For all of this, we need resource support from partners in government and the private sector to contribute to training and capacity building, as well as for further research and development.
Thank you, Anne. Lindelani, from your perspective, how do we get municipalities to engage with the Green Book? How do we get them to utilize the Green Book? And what do you think it will take to roll out the Green Book to all municipalities across South Africa?
Thank you, Elsie. Well, as we all aware that the climate change is a global phenomenon, but its impact is being felt locally. So more action is needed locally. And for us to make sure that we are fully engaged and utilize the Green Book tool effectively and efficiently, most important thing that is needed is to make sure that all our municipalities they get involved, the districts, metros, as well as the support of the provinces, and also the support of other sector departments. So it is also important that through this process of getting everyone engaged, particularly in the municipality, there should be a sort of formal introduction of the Green Book to the executive, municipality executives or councillors, because those are the decision makers in the municipality space. So there's a need to make sure that the decision makers, they also have an idea of the Green Book tools, because that is a decision making tool. And as they plan their day-to-day activities in terms of the municipality planning processes, they should have at least the understanding of the Green Book and how the Green Book could actually assist them in providing some of the critical information in the planning of their municipalities, in the structures like the IDP, where they do the entire planning of the municipalities. And also, I think it's also important for the municipalities to make sure that they do have a sort of a dedicated officials that would address the issue of climate change as well as issues of environment, and making sure that there should be sort of a continuously awareness with those dedicated officials within those municipalities in imparting them with a Green Book knowledge or information, so that they could carry on in terms of the climate change response implementation, and also driving some of the strategies and implementation within their municipality space. And also, maybe to answer your second question on what it will take to roll out the Green Book within municipalities across the country. Look, this is a very difficult equation or exercise, because as a country we've got about 44 municipalities, district municipalities, and about 280 something local municipalities and 8 metros. So to get it the Green Book to be rolled out in all those municipalities is a huge exercise that CSIR alone, department alone, we can't make this alone. So we need the partnership with other role players. There are a lot of role players who can come on board to assist, like the insurance industries, for what Santam did in those district municipalities. We really appreciate those efforts that Santam did, and encourage even other insurance industry to come on board. We also maybe in need of the business, also businesses to come on board, like the domestic financial institutions. This is the institution like the Land Bank, the IDC, and DBSA. We need those financial institutions to come on board to assist us in rolling out this Green Book exercise. As I said, that imagine if it's only us and Santam CSIR rolling it out in all the country, in all those districts. Of course, we do have limited resources, but we believe that if we all join hands together, from the industry, from the business, as well as academia, we really also need some educational institutions to come on board to assist in terms of the rolling out of this tool with whatever the resources that they have. And also, apart from that, finally, we also need some of the government departments, the sector departments, to come and assist those municipalities in the rolling out with the knowledge, resources in terms of financial and technical capability, to make sure that we realize the vision and the goal of the Green Book. And thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Lindelani. John, all the way from Cape Town, could I ask you about your experience in the pilots, and do you see the value of rolling this out to other municipalities, and what do you think is needed from an industry perspective to get this done?
Thank you, Alize. Yeah, I had the privilege of, together with my fellow panelists, to be at these sessions in these district municipalities. And the way in which this content was embraced and internalized by the technical officials, by the practitioners, by the councillors, was very encouraging to see. Because we understand now and we see the importance of data, of scientific risk-based data in informing decision-making at municipal level. And the Green Book presented exactly that. We also see from an insurance point of view, insurance can only underwrite based on scientific data. So these two things really came together very nicely in the shape and form of a Green Book. We've also had pilots, of course, within Santam itself, where we expose our underwriters, our surveyors to the content. And we could see how these things align our understanding of risk using science and the municipal understanding of risk using science are now these two entities align. So it was, as I indicated, very encouraging to see how, with what enthusiasm this content was embraced in the various pilot sites. I think there's appreciation that risk, when it presents, is very costly. It's costly in terms of lives and livelihoods. And the more prepared municipalities are to dealing, first understanding risk and responding appropriately, the less the impact would be on life and livelihoods. The same with insurance. From insurance point of view, by having data, we are begin to predict risks better, to underwrite that better, and that, of course, benefit communities in the long run because then insurance become more affordable. We also see the Green Book has got a predictive analysis and data that also relates to chronic stresses like urbanization, food shortages in the long term, etc., etc. Those that content, as it has been shared with the municipal officials in the sessions that I attended, really found very good resonance with those municipalities and get them to think very deeply around what should be done now to prevent these issues to cause serious challenges in future. We also seen in terms of the Green Book, the content, how acute shocks like fire, floods, pandemics, and infrastructure failures, how that could potentially cause huge shocks to municipalities, and the appreciation that came from the officials. So at the end of the day, Alize, to your question, my experience in these sessions, my view, it is this information was truly timeous in enabling the decision makers to deal better, to understand risk better, and to deal with it better into the future. In terms of the industry is, as I indicated, dependent on risk-based data science to underwrite better, because we know if we do not have big data and reliable data, we will continue to underwrite risk, and more, and insurance will become more and more unaffordable, which will continue to exclude a large contingent of our society from being covered. So it is time, as we started with this pilot and beginning to understand risk, there's a call to action to the industry to say, come on board. We've piloted in 2 district municipalities. There are 42 left. There are 8 metros left. Here's an opportunity for us to work together in mitigating the impact of risk for the sustainability of our society as well as our industry. There's a huge opportunity to learn how do we assess impact in order to improve initiatives. So here's a huge platform for us to do this. And the question then for potential partners is, how do we commit? How do we lean in and support? It's very simple. There are various ways in which various partners can come on board. There's financial support, as Lindelani indicated. Yes, we need financial support, but some partners have got technical support that they can provide. Technical support and tactical support. There's networks. They can use their buying powers to start influencing things on the ground in order to mitigate risk moving forward. The focus, of course, being on municipalities and building resilience in those municipalities. And we believe the Green Book that dynamic platform and the data in the Green Book will assist all of us, both business and society, to deal better with these shocks coming at us into the future, whether it's chronic shocks, whether it's acute shocks. Thank you.
Panelists and John, for that call to action. We appreciate that. So just as a conclusion, as you've heard, the Green Book has already made a tremendous contribution to society, and there's also a lot more potential contribution that the Green Book can make. So therefore, we are continuing the research and development on the Green Book, and we have more training sessions planned together with our partner. So to this extent, we have already made some improvements to the Green Book. It is now possible to download a risk profile template for every local municipality, to download a customized adaptation action template or document, and these can be included in local municipal plans, sector plans and strategies. And we are also busy conceptualizing the development of a risk profile viewer just for metropolitan cities with more in-depth analysis and high resolution climate profiling, and also customizable adaptation actions. So watch us, we're continuing. We have big plans for the next 5 years, and we invite you to become part of these plans. And we also provide an opportunity for feedback, so do send us your questions and your feedback. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I just want to thank our online audience for joining us today. And if you want to get in contact with us, our contact details are provided on the screen. You can either get in contact with Wilhelmine or myself, and we will direct your questions to the relevant panelist. And thank you to the panelists as well for joining us today. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.